color is just one small part of kind of what I do and what I facilitate. We talk about energy of fabrics and the energy of textiles, but mostly it's mostly the inner work that we have to do first. That's the foundation. And then the outer work is learning the energy and the tools and psychology of color and of fabrics and of textiles, how to mindfully shop, how to mindfully get dressed each day, how to intuitively muscle test and feel your way into a piece, paying attention to what you're feeling inside your body and knowing how you want to express it that day and what is going to elevate you. And it's like being very aware of all this stuff so you have the toolbox to use to tap into so that you can express it every day.
Welcome to the Crystal Zinn podcast. I believe our bodies are a living map of the entire universe. All the answers reside within. Remember, you are sovereign, whole, and infinitely valuable. And the best gift we can give to the world is our own healing. Join me as we explore holistic tools, spiritual practices, and paradigms that are shifting the way people experience life, business, and relationships. I love to share education on the most recent medical research and cutting-edge technology on anatomy, neurology, trauma, development, and more to give us a foundation in understanding how to align, utilize, and upregulate our physical systems. Ultimately, this podcast is a witness and support to people on their journey of remembering, an inspiration for all of us to keep going, and a reminder that we are not alone. Welcome to the Crystal Zinn podcast. Today I have a really special guest, Maren Swenson. Hi, Maren.
Hi.
So what we typically do at the beginning of my podcast is just tune in to clear the space and channel what we feel like we need to talk about today. So for all the listeners, if you're in a place where it's safe to do so, close your eyes. Find your next exhale, ride it all the way to the end. Good, and then soften the belly as you inhale. And then exhale. And then take all the things buzzing around your head, the things you need to do, the things we need to hold on to. And we'll just find some trust. Just set them down or set them aside. And move downward in your body from the center of your head down to the center of your heart. Sometimes they say this is the longest journey, the 16 inches between your head and your heart. And then opportunity to take 2 or 3 self-guided breaths, expanding the borders of your heart space. Maybe dropping your chin like a Mary Magdalene meditation. Maybe feeling the coherence and energy around your chest space like Joe Dispenza guides. And then make a note for your final breath, for it to just be a final releasing to come to the present moment. And then blink your eyes open, come back. Notice any textures or colors or feelings. If you're watching this live, notice the beautiful colors Maren's wearing. I love it. So maybe we should start there, actually. I have just been really wanting to dissect a little bit color therapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
maybe tell us what it is you do, and kind of just in the recent formulation of what you're doing right now and how that applies to color therapy.
Yeah. So I'm a glow coach, self-named. I also go by spiritual fashionista or intuitive stylist. Those are kind of synonyms I've come up with for myself. So I've been told for years I should be a stylist because I just love fashion and I love clothing and I love being bold and making statements with how I look, and I don't have one particular style. I love everything, and I always have laughed at that because I'm not like a stylist. Like I don't follow fashion trends. I don't follow rules. I don't follow the influencers. I don't read the magazines. I don't pay attention to brands. I don't do any of like the typical stuff. I don't have like certain guidelines on what cuts and colors specifically look good on a certain body type. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't pay any attention to it actually. I just intuitively have dressed what feels good to me and what I like and what I feel good each day, and it changes day to day, mood to mood, season to season, based on just what I'm feeling and what I want to express. And
somehow people want that.
Yes.
Somehow people are like being attracted to that.
So when people keep telling me, I want you to be my stylist, I want you to be my stylist, I was like, but you don't actually want that. It's not actually what you want, because you don't like the way I actually dress. I know you like it on me, but if I put my clothes on you, not you specifically, but the proverbial you'd be like, ooh, this isn't me, it doesn't feel comfortable. Oh. What you actually want, and I had some friends who really helped me figure this out after I did a goddess photo shoot with my photographer, Candace McWhorter, of Untamed Soul Photography. We can talk about that in a minute, but I had these photos done of me, and it wasn't about what I was wearing. It was me out in the sand dunes, and it was really raw, and it was very like divinely tapped into me, and it was untamed, and it was me channeling like my full divine self through photo. And these people would look at these photos and they'd be like, but I want to do that. I want to look like the way you feel. And that's what they were seeing. It was the energy that they wanted for themselves, not the actual clothes or my expertise. It was that they wanted to be able to feel and express inside and outside themselves the same confidence and joy and intuition that I was able to tap into with me.
That makes so much sense. Yes, because you see it and you're like, oh, I want that. But you're right. What they were looking at was they wanted to embody the essence of what you were embodying, which of course is going to look different on them.
Yes, so different. Thank you. That was very well articulated.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, what you actually want is not for me to tell you what to wear. You want to be able to feel the confidence to know what you want to wear. And we don't have a lot of that in the culture I grew up in, even in kind of general society. Like, we're always looking for someone to tell us their opinion and their approval and like kind of validate what we think we know. And I'm all about letting go of all of that and like trusting yourself completely, and then having the proper tools in place to help you make the decisions that will really like help you feel good every day. And so color is just one small part of kind of what I do and what I facilitate. We talk about energy of fabrics and the energy of textiles, but mostly it's mostly the inner work that we have to do first. That's the foundation. And then the outer work is learning the energy and the tools and psychology of color and of fabrics and of textiles, how to mindfully shop, how to mindfully get dressed each day, how to intuitively muscle test and feel your way into a piece, paying attention to what you're feeling inside your body and knowing how you want to express it that day and what is going to elevate you. And it's like being very aware of all this stuff so you have the toolbox to use to tap into so that you can express it every day. So it becomes easy.
That's so cool, because it sounds like 90% of what you're teaching and doing could be applicable and is just such a massive thing in somebody's life and tool belt for anything in their life. Yes. Even though like at the end now you're directing it towards fashion.
Yeah, right.
And
my
styling.
Emphasis would be that, but it's the same thing for everything.
That's so cool. Okay, so assuming that maybe some of my listeners know how to muscle test or know a little bit of that internal work, what would it look like in the morning, like when you're getting dressed? Can you walk us
when I'm
through
getting
that?
dressed? Well, before I've gotten dressed, I've done my stuff, right? I've gotten up. I have a very carefully cultivated morning routine. I'm in the headspace of feeling aligned with myself, what I want out of that day. Even if the morning's hectic, I've still given myself 10 minutes to like be with me, connect with the divine, connect with my inner divinity, all that stuff, right? All the inner work. And then when I go to get dressed, I'm like, I mean, it depends on the day, but in general, I like do a quick body scan, like how am I feeling? What do I want to feel today? What do I have coming up that I want to go to? Like, for instance, I'm on this podcast today. I wanted a color and a fabric that would make me feel very comfortable, but I also wanted to feel luxurious and elegant and refined. And so I went with these fun velvet pants. Velvet is a really wonderful fabric that has a lot of depth and mystery and richness to it. And these like jewel tone colors, and this green satin shirt that is, because it's green, it has like a really grounding raw energy to it, and helps me feel grounded and connected to nature. But the sheen of it and the yellow undertones are positive and joyful, and they like spark some creativity and some movement in them. And I didn't consciously think of that as I was going today. It's just stuff I know about it. But I sit there and this only takes like a minute, right? 30 seconds.
Okay.
And I just take a breath. And then sometimes it's a matter of like looking through, and I just have learned to pay attention to my gut instinct of like what I'm drawn to. And sometimes it's as easy as, oh, this I'm wearing today. And sometimes it's like pull out a few things and I hold them up to me, and I just like feel the reaction in my body. I don't even have to like think about it. It's more like what feels good. Wow. And then I put it on, and then I evaluate again. And if it's not right, I go with something else. But generally it's like, okay,
yeah.
And I'm off.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much, because how many times do we like even know how we want to feel, right? With what's going on in that day. Like, oh, I've got this. Gosh, I really want to feel confident and not vulnerable, or show up like this. And if you can put it in your clothes, which is like, duh, why don't we think about that? Then you just have the feel and the texture on your body, and the constant reminder every time you look at it to tag back to how you want to feel. And that's such an amazing thing. And I'm sure people are tapping into it, but it's just kind of blowing my mind since we've been in contact, because I'm like, look at this thing we have so readily available that I don't think about. And I think it's because of what you said. People are making a market of it out there. And so not only is it styled by the fashion industry and influencers, and people are trying to follow that trend. So I think that's all lost in the internal, like, creative and personal space of it. It's always saying, do this and then you'll be this, eat this and then you'll be this, right? Like, everything is lost in the commercialization of our entire world, how intuitive these practices could be. Yeah. When you were talking, it reminded me of that kid's book. I wonder if you read it, where it was this book about like little Tommy. It's like this nursery rhyme, and he was trying to look like Jeremy because Jeremy was cool. Jeremy was trying to dress like this other guy, and he was trying to dress like whatever, and it went through the whole rhyme of the book, and at the end the last guy was trying to dress like the original guy, Tommy.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I have not read it, but that sounds really great.
Because I feel like we're just sort of caught in that, right? Yeah. And that's previously how I thought about it too, where I will see something and know that I like it, but I wouldn't have been intuitive enough to know that maybe what I'm liking is how it fits on them, or the energy they're exuding, and never stop to think what I want to translate to me is not that purple shirt on that influencer, but that idea and that feeling. What are some other words that come up when you're dressing in the morning? Like, to give us examples if we've never thought about it. Like this morning you said sophisticated, luxurious, comfortable. What are other ways we could feel if we've never even considered that?
When I'm working, like at home, I like to put on something that is obviously comfortable enough to sit down in for a long time, but something that makes me feel really focused or smart. Okay. And I mean like smartly dressed, smartly focused, intelligent, really taps into that like more like organized, clear-headed vibe. So I don't wear a lot of gray, but gray is one of those great colors for that. And it goes beyond color. It can be a blazer versus, a giant thing of ruffles, stuff like that.
Okay.
And then there's some days where I'm like, I'm tired of dressing up. I don't want to feel on. I want to feel comfortable and relaxed, and I want to be like really cozy. And that's when I'll reach for like fabrics and colors that are softer and more organic and flowy and drapey and that kind of thing.
Wow. Yeah, thank you for that. I just wanted to expand that out even just for my mind, because I imagine the listeners might be thinking about it too. Like, I don't even know all the range of how I could feel showing up to things, right?
Oh my gosh.
And so that's why, like, looking at the clothes and then even feeling a new feeling. I saw those photos of you. That was so beautiful. I almost went to that shoot, actually. And I had something in the way where I was like, why am I not supposed to be there? I am going to do that one day. So keep us in the loop with that. Because I know those things come up where she'll show up to a thing
Yeah,
once in a
while. We collaborate actually, and I have VIP days with my coaching, or I'm in the process of launching like a bigger program, a live program that I run, and kind of the capstone project is having a photo shoot with Untamed Soul Photography, so it can be part of like
so
the
we can
package.
go right through you and access that
because her work and our work we align so easily together, because it's not just a pretty photo shoot, right? It's not like you just go and take beautiful pictures. There's an element of that, but it's so much more than that. It's about actually tapping into and channeling your like highest self, right? The version of your ideal woman, the woman who's really tapped into her tuition, who is not held back, who's not choked, who's not constrained, who is free to be whoever she is. And it's hard to channel that sometimes behind a camera. Like I had original branding photos done back last year in February, and they were great. My photographer's amazing, but I look at the difference just in my energy between those original photos back before I knew what I was doing, back before I understood what I was, I just started a podcast and a journey not knowing what I was going to do with it yet, but answering the call to it, and then by the time several months later came along, I knew I needed to get this other kind of photo shoot done in the sand dunes, and just the difference in energy between the original set of photos and that set of photos. It's not about the setting, it's not about the clothing, it's just about what I exude in that, and I can feel and see a palpable difference between the two of them, and how much farther I've come in my inner work and my journey, and just how much more. My first ones were like I was just a lot more stiff, and the second ones I'm just free. A lot more. I still feel like there's more. There's more to unleash. There's more to unravel. But there's a marked change.
That's so cool. Okay, so now that we know a little bit of that and all of the background and the journey that goes into kind of how every morning that will start changing for us as we discover our stuff or work with someone like you, or do the inner work and learn more about that. Then when you're picking out the fabrics, you're just noticing, I guess, what supports, right? Those feelings. You're like, oh, this does create this. Oh, this doesn't.
What will assist it? Yep.
Yeah. And so what do the colors have to do with it? Like, can you tell us a little bit about each color and what they represent?
Sure.
So like when you would choose a bright red versus like a gray.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that it could be, I actually teach a great workshop on this. It's like an hour long, and we go through every color in detail and talk about the spiritual properties of it and help you kind of see it in a different way that you probably never looked at before. But in general, like I tend to wear a lot of bold jewel tones. For black is a long loved favorite of many people. And part of that is okay, so let's talk about black and white actually for a minute. Those are really fun to talk about. So black is like, scientifically, it absorbs every other color, right? It's like a totally full color. It's just, it keeps taking it in. Because of that, black spiritually is very protective. It's kind of a mask. People put black on and they immediately feel strong, they feel powerful, but they also feel a little bit aloof, like they're protected from anything else that's going on around them, because there's a sense of mystery. There's almost like a little wall that it puts up. It's a shield. And it will also help you elevate. Like if you put on an orange t-shirt versus a black t-shirt, the black t-shirt, even if they're made out of the same material, will automatically make you feel a little more dressed up, a little more formal, a little more on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so black, a lot of people wear black because we've been told it's slimming. It hides our extra weight. It will do all these things, and they're not wrong. Black will actually do that. From like a scientific view, but it will also do it energetically, because it absorbs all that stuff and puts a shield up between you and everyone else. And so black will hide you because you're not putting your full soul on display.
It's almost like if you don't know totally who you are and aren't ready to put that on display, then you'd make that choice. But why would you make that choice if you...
On purpose?
Yes.
I love wearing black when I do want to feel extra powerful and extra... The vibe for me is like a little bit of mystery, but some power and strength. And I love like the depth that it has to it. Versus like there's like another color would be red, which is bold and visceral and really stimulate. Like, you cannot wear or see red without actually having a physical reaction in your body to it. Okay. It's so stimulating. It's the color of blood and life force and aggression and movement. So if we were going to give black and red personalities, and like in a romantic setting, black would be more like, I dare you to come and say hi. Red would be like, I'm going to get you. I'm coming. Like, you don't even know what's happening to you, right? They're different. Okay. And then there's pink, which is also romantic, but it's playful and it's feminine and it's nurturing, and pink is flirty and it says, come and get me, right? They're different. So you contrast black to white, and a lot of people don't love to wear white. People who are maybe tend to feel a little less sure of themselves, a little more disconnected from themselves, they'll often choose dark colors because it feels protective and it feels hiding, whether they know it or not. White reflects all color. White to me is like the most vulnerable color you could ever put on, for so many reasons, right? Like, from like a practical standpoint, white will show all dirt. Like, I have a pair of white pants that I keep trying to wear, and then I'm like, why am I doing this with my 3-year-old? I pick them up and I have footprints everywhere. Like, I'm not in that season yet, or not with him. But you know, white will show everything. White does not slim because it's putting everything we have on this, like, it's showing up. It shows everything. And so it does feel like, ooh, am I ready for this? Am I ready for this kind of vulnerability and this transparency? Because what we're doing when we wear white is it reflects everything back. And so, like, we can't control at that point what other people are seeing and feeling from us, because they're only getting a reflection of what they're feeling inside themselves. Whereas the other colors have a little more depth and tone to them, so they can, I mean, I always feel like everything is a projection of ourselves, but white specifically is like, there's nothing left here. It's just you. So when I wear white, I'm letting go of all my expectations. I'm letting go of my control, and I'm just showing up as I am and allowing and surrendering to the notion that people will just take me for what they think I'm worth. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's bringing just some thoughts into why we wear white so much in ceremony as well. Those are such beautiful thoughts, and I love them so much, because we get some creative power feeling all that and learning about those colors. And I do know that even in your eyeballs, right, like in the perception of light and those different vibrations, it causes those different feelings in your brain, and then consequently in your hormones and in your body. And that's why it can be used as therapy too. Like, especially we're going into the sad season, the SAD season, right? Yeah. Where we all sort of get a little depressed. We could use that color as well to help with just the therapy. What did my aunt said to me the other day? Did you know that you can drink, like, ingest color in through your eyeballs?
I love that.
I was like, yeah, I guess you can.
You can, yeah. Even if it's not the clothes you wear, like, just having your space be certain colors, the mug you use every day, the dishes you have, the napkins you use, the candles you keep in your house, the pillows on your couch, the blanket on your, right? And
well, I was going to say, I finish what you're saying, actually.
I just want to point out really quick that what I really do, though, is like using color masterfully is kind of like the end result of the work we do. What I love about teaching color and the energy and psychology behind it is that we actually use it as a tool for self-reflection and to learn about who we are, what our tendencies are, and how we can connect to who we want to be. So that's really what, like, when I teach my workshop, we go through the colors, and I have specific methods how we do everything, but what you'll notice at the end of it is, like, I've just learned so much about myself, and I'm noticing I have tendencies to do this, I have tendencies to that. My whole closet is full of beige. Why is it full of beige? Why am I drawn to brown, which is grounding and sturdy and plain, like, and which is fine, but it's just like, why am I doing this? Is it because I'm in full alignment? Do I have stuff I'm not being expressed in? Where am I missing? What can I add more of? What do I feel really good about? Like, it's actually just another tool in our box. Wow. And then once we're aware of all that, then we can use it to, like, intentionally create.
Okay, I understand. It's like we talked about last week. you can use that as another mirror
it
for
is.
yourself. And that was actually the question I had. So I'm glad you said that first, because my husband said to me not too long ago, hey, do you remember when we were dating like 12 or 13 years ago, you used to wear a lot of salmon pink, like even in your workout clothes and in your dress up clothes. And he's like, I haven't seen that color in your closet or around you.
Interesting.
And he like made this observation. He was just having like this memory of us when we were dating, and he was like, this was a color I used to wear all the time, and I really remember liking that on you and liking looking at you on it. And I was looking in my closet at that point before I knew anything about it, and I was like, that's so interesting, because I really am drawn to a lot of these like deeper earth tones right now, like a dark green, or like, no one can see my pants right now, but like this maroon, even my nails are that color.
Garnet nails, beautiful.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, have you noticed, is that a thing that the wardrobe will sort of shift and change like in a stage in your life? It'll be all this texture, all this color, and then it morphed into my mind. I was like, whoa, I didn't notice that about myself. And then I could look back over the last 13 years and see a difference in like comfy clothes versus texture. And I just thought it was because of maybe what I was doing as a profession, right? Or like you're like in the
stage of
3-year-old
life
mommy
will
stage.
definitely have an impact.
Yeah.
But even still subconsciously, like.
So yeah, what else would that be saying about us subconsciously?
What you're craving, what you're subconsciously expressing. Like I've, told you, I'm in like this, what I call my Phoenix stage right now. When I had my original branding photos done, I was like in a very like defensive mode, I guess I would call it. Like I look back at my like content and my posting, and I'm like, I was just defending because I was moving out of like a deep religious and cultural era into like full expression and freedom, and I was still dealing internally with worry and fear over what people were going to say about me and what relationships would shift and that kind of thing. And I noticed that like the outfits I chose and even the colors of the setting and just my stance in it, like my photographer was like, you're like boss babe, like boom, put your staff down and ready to show up and conquer the world. And I think it was a little bit of protection. I use these really dark, moody colors, and I loved them. I love those photos. They're so fun. Yeah. But as I progressed more and got more comfortable with who I am and more clarity around what I wanted to do, and have really been transforming and letting go of old Maren and stepping into new Maren and shedding like all my old beliefs and doing so much inner work to process all of it, letting all the old ick come up so that I can get it out, which I would repress before, but letting it really come. And now I moved naturally into that Phoenix era of creativity and shedding of old stuff and transformation and rebirth and rising from the ashes. And I didn't even know it, but I was just in that era. And that's why the shoot in the sand dunes called to me, because I could feel like even the element of being in sand, which I'm not normally drawn to. I'm normally like, I want lush gardens and water. There's none of that out in the sand dunes. It's all sand. And I remember sitting in the sand and being like, I could feel it, like my legs on it, and feel it in my hands. And I was so entrenched in the feel of that, like the rocks, because sand is just ground rocks, and the wind whipping everywhere. And I was like, I'm on fire. I'm literally on fire. My soul is like trying to burst out of me. And I noticed that the outfits I chose during then, the colors of my home, I shifted from like in the summertime, I had like a dark or like a really beautiful leafy green and teal and bright pink bedspread. And I changed to like this rusty, peachy pink, but it has a lot of like brown tones in it, and it's very deserty feeling. And I didn't even realize I was doing that, but it's what I wanted. And I noticed all my clothes, suddenly I had orange popping up in my clothes all the time, and yellow, and that's what I kept wanting to wear. My bathing suits, they were all those colors. And it's because I was going through like rebirth, and orange is the color of creativity and transformation. It's rebirth, it's new, it's so sacral, it's like so moving. And it's the color of sunrise and sunset, and it's new, it's transition, and that's the era I was in. So I didn't even know I was doing it, but I was. And so now I keep finding little seeds of like the crystals I have that I buy and are given to me. They're orange and they're carnelian, and it's things like that. They just keep coming into my world. But
Thank you for sharing that. And also thank you for the permission for like the shift and change, because I do have to say that like for such a long time where I was drilled in frugal and lack, and once you have a pair of jeans it needs to last forever, and like when I was little you get your one ski pants and like you just make it stretch as far as you can, and even for most of like my adult life I have felt guilty and bad about like that change, and about seeing like the new styles come in, or loving something new, or feeling like that was okay to change when I had a perfectly good whatever dress I could wear to church in my closet. And then once you're an adult, things usually fit forever. Right? And so you no longer have the excuse of sizing to change what you want to wear. And so I had been maybe less and slowly transitioning, but I still to this day feel some guilt when I want to express myself or get something new, or the things in my closet don't feel aligned with me anymore. And I'm always like, well, I have to sell them or donate them or make money, or like I can't step into that change because it's wasteful and I don't deserve that expansion. And then I read something a couple months ago, and I can't give you the source, and she said, and it was more like Marie Kondo, where she was like, what you need to do is every couple months trash it all and begin again, because your clothes actually hold your energy and hold the teachings. And like what you said, if what we are choosing is an expression of our subconscious, then even that energy could be holding us back from stepping into more clear things, or things that are better aligned for us. And when she said that, I thought, oh my gosh, that's the opposite of what I've been taught. And is that okay?
Yeah. It is the opposite of what we've been taught,
and I thought there's got to be some sort of like ethical, or maybe that's just my subconscious, right? Like my guilt and shame is being held in my clothing as well, for the space that I think I deserve, I can take up. And then I noticed a really funny phenomenon with my youngest, who's 6, the other day, and she was actually crying at the kitchen table, and I was like, what's wrong? And she was like, none of my jeans fit. They're all too skinny. They're all too tight. And I was like, well, that's okay. I mean, you're growing. Yeah. I can take you to the store and we can shop for new jeans and something you would like. And she it like wasn't consoling her. And she was still crying. And I was like, well, honey, in the past you haven't wanted to wear jeans. You've only worn shorts, and you didn't like pants and didn't like jeans. So is that something you're wanting to step into? Like, I could take you to Target. You could pick out a couple different leggings, a couple different jeans. You could try them on. I had Maren in my mind too. And I was like, I was like, this is important, because I was, like channeling my inner Maren and just being like, what do you feel good in? Yeah. And she was still crying. And what I found out is she was sad to let go of the jeans that she did like and no longer fit. And she wasn't excited to go buy new things. I mean, she will be eventually. But what she was grieving was the fact that she loved them and they don't fit anymore. And she needed a moment for that. And I, sort of with just the little bit I know from you thus far, which I really want to do your entire program. I need it badly. So all the listeners join me in that. Get in line after me, because it just feels like I need that in my life right now. But just to honor like that piece of it as well. So I wonder, is that an element to it? Like, have you noticed that?
I mean, I would look at that and see, like, probably it's not so much about the clothes, but for her, it probably represents like change. It's hard on kids. Change is hard. Yeah. I see that with my own daughter. She was 12. She doesn't hold on to clothes so much like that, but just the change in general, like the unfamiliar, maybe growing up, puberty, like it's just a lot for them to go through.
And maybe there is a sentimental value, whether they're putting it on things. I just never thought it could be really clothes. I just never thought of that. But like, I have my grandma's brooches. From her funeral. I mean, everything. So clothes can also hold that sentimental value.
I mean, I have clothes down in my like basement closet that I'm never gonna wear again, but I keep because I can't bear to throw them out, because like one of them is my wedding dress that I wore when I eloped in Las Vegas. I can't let go of that. We need
to have a wedding dress party.
That would be fun.
We need to wear those again.
Right? Like I have a maternity wedding dress from when in my previous life when we went and got sealed in the temple, which is not a part of my life anymore, but and I'm like, I'm really never gonna wear that again. I'm done having babies, but I can't bear to let it go because it's a It's a specific memory. Here's what I will say about, like, when you were talking about feeling guilty and not being able to like expand and that kind of thing. I've noticed definitely a lack mindset that we've all grown up with, and I feel the same thing too. Like, I grew up in a household where, you know, my mom and dad had very different ideas on this, but my dad was very much like, we keep the same thing for 30 years, and he was very happy that way. He didn't ever feel the need to get anything new.
Yeah, that could serve some people.
Yeah, and my mom was the very opposite. She wants something new, and I have the new gene. I love that. But I do notice that the clothes that I will hold on to and I can wear, not all the time, but like every few months I'll come back to them. They're clothes that are, one, high quality, two, I picked out when I was emotionally and vibrationally in a very aligned high state of being. I did not buy them from a place of lack or boredom or convenience or cheapness, right? I bought them because I loved it. I put it on and it was like a, oh my gosh, my soul just jumped out of my body. I look so amazing and feel so good about myself kind of clothes. I know they're high quality, and I bought them because they were so aligned with me. Those pieces will stay in my wardrobe, and I will wear them 5 years from now, and I'll be okay, and I'll love them just as much. So I think there's an element of like, we go through seasons of life, and sometimes it's like, all right, this is no longer me because I'm a different person now. So out with the old, and we're coming in and embracing our new self. There's also an element of, and I really think this is the majority of people, their wardrobe is full of clothes that are not aligned. It doesn't mean they're not cute, nice clothes. It just means they're not aligned. We didn't buy them from a place of full awareness. We didn't buy them from a place of having to have it in that love excites you tingly way. A lot of times we just buy clothes because that store was close by and it was on sale. Yeah. Or our friend said it looked cute on us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I identify with that so much. I want to know what you do when you go to buy clothes.
Well, I'm honestly like, I'm teaching myself as I go through. Like, it's because it's a conscious effort to put into practice everything I believe in and everything I teach. I was just on a call yesterday with my friend who went through the program I just wrapped up. I do like this little 4-week live, it's called I'm a Glow Getter container. It's so fun. It's like a little mini condensed version of my big course I'm going to launch at some point, but we do like the inner work and the outer work. And the last week of that class is all about now putting into practice all these things we've learned and being very aware and intentional how we shop, how we buy, how we get dressed, things like that. So is that
something that looks different on each of your clients as well? Like how they make their intentional purchase might be a little bit different for each person?
Yes, I think the underlying base principles are the same because it's so much awareness and it's so much body checking in. Like even before you go to the store, do you know how you're feeling? Do you know why you're going there? Are you aware of why you're even in that particular store? Like there are stores that I just cannot buy clothes from, not because they're not nice clothes or they're not cute or whatever, but the vibe of the store does not fit me, and it doesn't matter how cute the piece looks on me, I will not wear it eventually because
of how you felt when you
how I felt being in that store, knowing where it's from. It sounds a little snotty, but I've just learned. It's honestly from experience. Okay, so I'll just say it. Like I used to buy clothes from Walmart. Okay. Sometimes because I'm in there a lot and they're cute. I have nothing wrong with it. I see people who wear clothes from Walmart and Walmart has really stepped its game up actually. Yeah. They have cute clothes. I love them on other people. I've just noticed that every piece I've ever bought from Walmart, I wear like twice and then I'm like, I just don't like it on me. And there's something about me buying it from that store and being in that vibe where Walmart does not market luxury. It does not market elegance. It does not market quality and long-lasting timelessness classic. It does not market that, and they're okay with that, right? Walmart markets great value in their cheap, generic, fast, bulk way, right? Yeah. And that's okay. That's what they stand for. It's not how I want to feel when I get dressed. So I'll buy things like my groceries and I'll buy like other household things I need. But when it comes to my clothing that I'm very particular about, I cannot do it from Walmart. I can't do it. Other people can, but I cannot.
That's valid. And that's okay. It's interesting that you brought that up because maybe something to look at are what are the things that are always going to the Goodwill or the DI or her little sisters. Yes. Like I have noticed, you're right about that. There's a certain particular theme, I can see certain things that are always in those buckets. Like some things will change based on how I've changed, but there are certain things that are always in those buckets. And you know what? I just thought of a lot of them are impulse buys.
Impulse buys, yes. Or boredom.
They just don't last very long.
Yes. So like for example, yesterday, this will bring me full circle a little bit. I had to go into TJ Maxx. Like I was going to another store next to it, and I had my toddler with me, and it suddenly was freezing and like almost snowing here, and I didn't have a jacket with me, and I was like, let's just run in, I'll get you like a little bit of food and we'll get you a jacket. So I was in there, and while I'm in there, of course, it's TJ Maxx. It's so fun to browse. I do too. It's so fun to go in there. It is fun. But I like look, so I spend my time and I let my kid pick out a toy to bring with us in the cart, and I look through all the clothes, and I end up in the dressing room with like 6 pieces that are cute, and I put them all on, and I'm like, do I like it? No. Do I need it? No. But it's so cheap. It's under $20. Oh, and I like the color, but does it feel like me? I was like, I just yesterday wrapped up this class, and I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. I'm like, I'm in here and I'm not shopping because I want to shop, or I need to shop, or I need new clothes, or I'm looking for something specific. I'm shopping because I'm here. I'm shopping because I'm bored. I'm shopping because it sounded fun to have something new. But if I actually pick this piece up, if I put it on my body and it's not an initial, immediate hell yes, then it's a no, and I don't need it. Even if the shirt is $6, even if it's pink, even like whatever it is, if it's not a full absolutely, then I'm not getting it. And in the past, I have gotten stuff, and those are the things that they're cute, but they were impulse boredom buys. I just grabbed because they were available and they were cheap and fun, and they end up in my DI bag. And so I put everything back, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't feel good about spending my money on these things today. It's not a yes for me. And in the past, old Maren would have just done it because what was really happening there was like me filling a void. It was me filling a boredom void, me thinking that buying these things was going to make me feel really good. And it would for a day.
Wow. And I love, that's exactly what I was going to say. I love that you brought that back to just sort of the deeper things, because yes, we're talking about all these fun things and all, that you can practice this on the medium of styling and clothing. And what is so beautiful and powerful about you is that you have that depth of character and self-knowledge and shadow work and spiritual work, which you can just feel when you're around you. And I love that so much.
Thank you. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet to hear.
Well, it's why people, sorry, my nose is burning. It's like why people who looking at your pictures were like, I want that, right? Because of that deeper thing that exudes, which is how can we use some of these things as such a potent mirror and practice in our life. And every time I find someone who's like tapped into that one category, right? And shows us that at its depth is such a gift to the rest of us, because even as you're talking on here, I'm just discovering so many things about myself, like when I'm in Costco or when I'm food shopping, and what that really is underneath, or you're on Amazon and what it really is compensating for loneliness, right? Or like you said, you're outsourcing versus you're insourcing. And so a lot of times with the clothing, I personally, and I know people can probably relate to that, are outsourcing their confidence or their feeling or their peace or their safety or anything in those places. And I can absolutely see that in my purchases. And being aware of that and being able to study with you in a course and put it into practice and have some, feedback on that discovery is just so powerful. I love group settings. I love coaching settings. I love containers. I love just creating things where like you could come into a retreat, right? And make that part of like one of the major parts of the retreat. Like we were just talking about in my kitchen, where I was like, we could create that scenario like your friend did and host it and have that be a
so
piece
fun.
of it.
Yeah.
The possibilities are endless, and it's so exciting. And I just love what you're doing and want to participate in any way I can. And
it's right. It's combining
it.
like the
so
two best
beautiful.
things, especially about being a woman.
Yes.
It's like we get to tap into our very high intense spiritual gifts that we innately have as women, but we get to apply them to all this like fun outward expression of fashion and style. And it goes beyond just clothing. It's like, how do you show up for yourself every day? Like,
Yes.
how do we treat our bodies? How do we treat our space? There's so much to it. And it's very nuanced. And I'm all about, like, there's no set of rules. It's just helping you get really in tune with what is right for you and trusting that, because I come from such a place of not having self-trust, and that's been something I've really had to hone and work on. And that's really, I feel like, honestly, the biggest hang up for people is, one, no awareness, because they're not used to paying attention inwardly to themselves, because we live in this fast world. We're getting better, but, and then two, the trust in when they finally do hear it, are they willing to like accept that it's okay, even if it's different from others, and then express it without fear. Those are the big things.
I love that. And I want to add celebrating that in each other, because I think that's something, it just feels really good to have, and it seems like something you do when you're helping them.
Favorite.
And then you celebrate that person and their authenticity. And I think a lot of us, at least I didn't get to experience a lot of being celebrated for that. And I know that's a lot of people's stories, is just either being shamed or told. And so getting through that process, you know, starting that expression, and then having someone like you celebrate them for that, like, wow, look at you, you know.
That's why I'm a big believer and supporter of retreats like you host, and because I've had so many life-changing experiences from going and being, it's not always the information I'm learning is so groundbreaking, it's more the community of being seen and heard by people who are like-minded and who can support me in that to me, it's why I like to do live programs rather than like a pre-recorded thing, because I feel like the real magic and the transformation and the alchemy of it is actually being in a group of other people who are all on the same page. Like, we're all searching for improvement. We're all like showing up, hoping to be seen. And so will we see others? And that's my jam. I just love being with people.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. Like I said, it's such perfect timing for us to connect, because I feel called to that. And there's so many great things out there. And like you said, you just have to figure out what it is for you. Yeah. There's lots of programs, lots of retreats, lots of masterminds you can be in. And I just said no to, I know we were talking about the sacred no last week. I said no to a beautiful container a couple weeks ago, where something like this feels more like a yes for me. And that other one was so amazing and expansive, but it just wasn't the direction I was expanding in. And so it's really fun to just connect and find and celebrate those things, you know, and like you said, intentionally do those intentional no's to the ones that are not, and just keep building that skill. Thank you for sharing all of this with us. I want to know if there's anything left on your heart, like a message that you want to share, and then how people can get a hold of you. Yeah, take your time.
I guess I want to make clear, because I've had people, so in my business development and getting clear on who I am and what I do, I'm really out on social media a lot. I post, you know, consistently, and I've made a lot of new friends from having my own podcast and networking, going to retreats and collaborating. Like, I've really got a whole brand new world of people, and I keep people, their comments to me are like, you're so confident and you're so glowing and you're so on top of the world, and they build. And while I appreciate that, I also feel very like that it's important for me to be very transparent and share, like, I am and I'm not, and I am and I'm not. Does that make sense? Like, I am on top of the world, but I only feel like it's because I'm willing to accept that I'm not always. So like, I have struggled with confidence, I've struggled with body shame, I've struggled with accepting my sexuality, I've struggled with sex, I've struggled with patriarchy, I've been through a divorce, and now I'm remarried, and I have a blended, like, I've been through so much, and it's only because of going through those things and being willing to face my struggles and face my insecurities and see what I wanted to be out of, that I was able to like step into this new version of me. And new version is not perfect. New version is not always confident. New version is not always expressed. New version is not perfectly every day just living in this beautiful, aware, intentional, aligned world, right? Like, I'm human. So, but new Maren recognizes that and loves herself in spite and maybe even because of it. And I'm here for the journey and the progression. And I feel like sometimes we look at these people, and I do this too. Like, I have mentors like you and other women in the world I've met who are kind of more on the same plane as you, and I have a tendency to be intimidated or feel like, oh, but they're just so elevated and I'm never going to get there. And then I look and I hear comments from other people who say the same thing about me. And I'm like, we're all just here. We're all just growing. We're all just loving. Like, it's a journey. And I feel like if we can let go of the expectation that there's some kind of magical solution on the other, we've talked about this last week, right? There's no destination. It's just a journey.
Yeah.
And so that is something I feel like I always want people to know is like, I have my things, but I'm working on them. And maybe the real difference between old Maren and new Maren is that old Maren was not aware, and old Maren did not have the toolbox, and new Maren is very aware. New Maren wants to improve, and new Maren has a toolbox that when I'm feeling all those old tendencies, I can pull from my box. And instead of being down for 3 days and upset and worried and not even understanding why, I'm like, okay, I'm breathing and I'm meditating and I'm examining and I'm using this and this and this to shine a light on whatever darkness is in it, and how can I glow up.
So well said. And your magic is so potent that you have to share. And so authentic, yeah. And just the authenticity and the realness of it makes it even that much more powerful. So thank you for sharing it with us today.
Thank you.
Where do people contact you? And I will tag it in the show notes, but let's give a verbal shout out to it.
My website, marenswenson.com. And then I have my own podcast, which Crystal was featured on. You can listen to that. It's called Wild Serenity. It's all about insourcing versus outsourcing and accepting our wild selves as a way of serenity. And then I'm on social media, Instagram, Facebook, either Maren Swenson or Find Wild Serenity on Instagram. So
Thank you. Well, thank you so
thank
much
you. It's
for
such a
today.
pleasure to be on here.
Look forward to many more things in the future.
Yeah.
Satnam. Namaste.
Thank you for listening. Connect with me on Instagram at Crystal Zinn Yoga. Subscribe on my website at crystalzinnyoga.com to receive tools and practices for your holistic journey, and to be the first to know about offerings, workshops, trainings, and retreats. We live in powerful times that require courage, bravery, compassion, authenticity, community, and grounding. You're not alone. Check out my free content, classes, and meditations on YouTube under Crystal Zinn Yoga, and have a beautiful day. Satnam.